Oh, now am I live? Where am I? Oh, I wasn't live at all. That's wonderful. Okay. Let's see. Hey everyone. Here I am, a half hour late because I thought I was live and I wasn't. So, welcome to the stream. We are in the Namco Museum Volume 3. Here I thought I was streaming this whole time. Isn't that great? So, welcome everyone. We are in Namco Museum Volume 3. And I don't know how to use any of this stuff on Facebook. It's driving me crazy. But we are now live because I can see that I am. And I see my comment tab finally. So welcome to the stream. Again, we are in Namco Museum Volume 3. It's Volume 3. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to exit out of here and we're going to go back out into the main museum and kind of start over. That way you guys get a feel for what's going on. This is Dig Dug's room. And we'll step back out here to give you an idea of what's going on. I literally spent 20 minutes in Miss Pac-Man's area. So Namco Museum Volume 3 has Pole Position 2, Fozon, Tower of Jiraga, Galaga, or Galaxian, I should say, Ms. Pac-Man, and Dig Dug. Okay? As you can see, the museum has changed quite a bit. They made a lot of changes to this particular machine, so this particular disc. There's a lot more interactivity than the other ones. What's fascinating is the fact that Ms. Pac-Man was made here in America. It was not made in Japan. And I've explained this story so many times that, Bally was not happy about waiting for Super Pac-Man. That they continuously asked, when are we getting it? When are we getting it? So then that's when General Computer jumped in and said, hey, we can hack the Pac-Man ROM and add our own characters, bop, bop, bop. Thus, Miss Pac-Man was born. So we'll go into her room first. Now, you're going to notice right away, there's not a lot to show in Miss Pac-Man's room simply because it is not from Japan. So they show the board set, which essentially is the same board set, literally, that was used for Pac-Man. The only difference is the little board attached to the side of it. That was General Computer's board that had the character ROMs on it. So that ribbon cable would go up and connect to where I believe it was the Z80 processor was, if I'm not mistaken. That's where the Z80 was. And it would basically, the Z80 would plug into that little board, and then all your character files were right there, and then would dump back over to the main board. And it was many years before Ms. Pac-Man was really embraced by Namco. They wanted nothing to do with the game for like almost a decade. I think it was around 91, 92-ish, so about a decade when they finally embraced Ms. Pac-Man. And one of these days we'll do a comparison of Ms. Pac-Man because there's two versions for the NES. And one of them is the Tengen version, which is really good. And then there is the Namco version, which is not so good because they, again, had nothing to do with it. It wasn't until this disc came out that they said, okay, we're going to embrace Ms. Pac-Man and really give her the time to shine. And they do in this. And again, there's not much. Now you can come over here. They did have a Ms. Pac-Man doll that they developed probably in the early 80s. And I'm assuming that the game came out in Japan. It's something I really need to research. I was thinking about it as I was not online because I thought I was. And then you have your tip right here. Everybody knows how to play Miss Pac-Man. And then the game itself is in the house. So you get to go inside Pac-Man's house this time. And there we are. And they're dancing. And there's Chomp Chomp. I love this. So you walk around, a one-room house. Of course, there's the whole family. You got Pac-Man, Pac Jr., Pac Baby, and Miss Pac-Man. I love this. It's fascinating to me how much effort was put into this machine, like this game, this disc. It was just the labor of love, you know. And again, it wasn't emulation. These guys recreated note for note these games. So, you know, you come over here, and of course got the TV, and it shows, you know, the American flag behind her because, of course, she was developed in America. And then I found this earlier. Yeah, we'll leave him alone. Look at that. Fascinating stuff. I just love the amount of effort that they put into this game. Now, Miss Pac-Man has gone through a few changes in the last couple of years because At Games acquired the rights to Miss Pac-Man for a long time. Now, I think they're reverted back, or at least they're able to produce it through Namco as well now. But to know that this was really the first time they truly embraced Miss Pac-Man. And you're going to see. Here's the cocktail table. Again, no uprights in this one, I don't think. And we'll click on it, and away we go. Now, like I said, I don't know that they made this game for Japan arcades at all. So if they did, this would have been the bezel. But I believe it didn't see a release over there. I don't know. It's fascinating, though, because basically they took the Pac-Man bezel and dressed it up for Ms. Pac-Man, which I thought was really cool. But works same way as all the other ones. Of course, that, you know, the sounds are not quite accurate because, you know, again, not emulated. This is all, you know, recreated by these programmers. But you get the idea of how Miss Pac-Man works. We're not going to stay in here too long. In fact, I don't remember how I can get out. I think I got to wait until... Yeah, I think I got to wait until... Oh, there is a pause. Let me see. Can I... Nope. Okay. Because I really want to show you some of the games you've never seen before. Because this is really the disc where they started showing off a lot of the things that you would not see on any other, you know, console of the time unless you were in Japan. And, you know, like Fozon. I don't know that Fozon ever got a release here, which blows my mind that, you know, there we go. Okay. So this one doesn't have the dip switches. Basically what you do is you can adjust, like, the screen. I can flip. Whoop. There we go. So watch. I can... Oh, that's the... No, that's where I adjust. Hold on. Whoop. No, I'll get it. There we go. Mode. Okay, so normal arcade. Same thing as Pac-Man. It's going to tell you, you know, watch out flipping your television. And just the attention, you can look at it and see it looks so close to the arcade version. It's scary how good they did. And then you can go up and switch it back to normal. There we go. And we'll exit out of there. And you can go through the settings. The settings are exactly the same as they were in Pac-Man. Of course, it's using the original programming. This is basically an overlay on Pac-Man. So all your dip switch settings are exactly the same. Your point, your high score value for another life, things like that. It was all the same. So we're going to exit out of Miss Pac-Man. There he goes. All right. We're going to let them get back to their aerobics. Goodbye, Miss Pac-Man and Chomp Chomp. There we go. We're exiting out the door. There we go. Again, playing with an analog controller, because these games were designed almost specifically for the PlayStation controller. So sometimes things don't line up when you're using an analog controller, because the PlayStation original controller was a D-pad. All right, so we're back out of there, And we're going to go back into Dig Dug where you guys, when I realized I wasn't live. So we're going to go in here. You're going to see a lot more in the other rooms because Namco developed these games. So now, as most people know, Atari picked up the Dig Dug license for American distribution. So the first thing is the board set is different. It's actually using like a Mappy board, I believe is the one it's using. Our boards are very different because Atari built its own proprietary boards for everything. And so they just got the ROMs and made their own chips and put them on their boards, and away they went. Very different than, oh, you know what? I wanted to show you the hat because I'm a big fan of hats. Let me go back in because I got to show you the hat. The hat's cool. So yeah, they had a Puka baseball cap. I'm in love. I wish I could have gotten one of those. You know, the same typical. You can look at the artwork. There's the header. There's the bezel. Very different. The character designs were never changed. Like we got all their character designs over here, so those didn't change. But you know, the outward design of the artwork was different. And in typical Namco fashion, you'll notice that the control panel and the bezel are actually the same piece of plastic. So basically their cabinets were designed where everything would be one piece that would lay right on top, you know, and connect. So we'll exit out of that one. And here's some other little tidbits. You had buttons that you could have gotten. You know, and Namco had their own arcades, so, you know, they embraced Puka. Puka got a lot of love. Figar, not so much. You had the bouncing Puka wind-up doll, and then you had these inflatable Pukas, and I love that they have Volume 2 in the picture for some bizarre reason. Here we go. All right. So now, this is something you really saw in Japanese arcades. These are pop cards. Now, pop cards would sit on top of the cabinet, indicating a new game. The games were bright and colorful already, but to sit that on top, saying new game, everybody would gravitate towards that kind of stuff. I'm fascinated by it, and I'd love to make my own. And with a lot of the equipment I have, I could make those, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you know, and then of course this is the instruction sheet that we got under the glass. So hey Josh, yeah, I'm a little late tonight because I'm not very bright. I keep forgetting how to turn on the live feed, and I was finding that Twitch was just kind of there, like I wasn't getting anybody. So, you know, at least this way my friends and family can jump in if they want to. And I've stated it before, I'll say it again. I'm doing this for me, so it's always good, you know, that I really have zero expectations. There's a lot bigger people out there that do this stuff, you know. So we are in Namco Museum Volume 3. The museum is very different than the other one. And everybody knows how to play Dig Dug. I was saying this to myself earlier, that this game inspired Mr. Do. Okay, so you know they saw that and they had to have that. You know, so they created their own version of Dig Dug called Mr. Do. So, you know, very similar in a lot of ways, very different in a lot of ways. I mean, the way you destroy the enemies, instead of a ball, you've got your pump. Rocks work the same as the apples, but you can't push them. All you can do is dig under them and make them fall. So you want to be able to line them up, you know, and this is another one. So I believe if you get them from behind, you get more points. Also, if they're moving vertically, you get more points for that as well. And then the vegetable treats only appear when you take out 2 rocks. You got to take out 2 rocks for that to happen. And then once you do, that appears like a bonus fruit in Pac-Man. You've got like a few seconds to go up, get that fruit, and you know, get the points for it. I was always a big fan of Dig Dug because it was the first game that really showed that you could make your own maze, which I always thought was fascinating. And the home ports, I remember playing this on the Atari computer because, of course, Atari had the rights to everything, basically the arcade and home versions of Dig Dug. And I had it on my 8-bit computer. I believe it is on Twitch. I think I got everything set up properly this time, Josh. I don't know. I haven't been able to check it. I'm still learning all this stuff, but you know, it was funny because I sat here for almost 25 minutes, realized I wasn't live. So, yay me. Also, you'll notice the background has changed a little bit. I'm learning to make backgrounds so that the screen is bigger, so you can actually see the image that's on this, you know, that I'm showing you, because I found that the other ones were just too small. So I'm trying to enhance the whole thing. But so that's, you know, tips on Dig Dug. And then over here, how to play, very simple. We just kind of went over that. So we're going to go in. Now, this is what's really cool. I've told you before, the music in these discs are just bangers. Like, they're just really, really good. Well, the best song is Through This Door. In my opinion, the best song on any of the discs is right here. Are you ready? Here we go. I love that the two Pukas are dancing over there. No Fireguard. Fireguard got no love at all. Now, if you notice, here is an upright cabinet. So this is the atypical Namco cabinet. It's, you know, of course, very blocky and everything, but you can see that the bezel and the control panel are interconnected. Now, I think they did separate, so they're just showing them together. They did separate, but they were all lined up as one piece all the way down, which I always thought was really cool because it made the art stand out more, because they would make it all look like it was supposed to be one piece. But just love the song. And of course you can't get over there. Do not enter, because that's a cliff. But we can watch the Pukas dance. Look at them go. And what's really cool is you can go over to YouTube. And of course these were what do they call it? Red letter media. So basically, they were MP3 files for their day. All of them have been, extracted, of course, and you can listen to these songs on YouTube all day long, which I think is really cool. And I like the cabinet. I think it's really cool. Can we see this? Oh yeah. So their artwork, again, very different. You can see how the similarities to the Bally Midway and the Namco are. Namco's were more straight. They didn't have that big curve that the Bally... oh, you know what? I'm thinking about it. It depends on... Ooh, they do have Donkey Kong 3 challenges? Come on, there's hope for Stanley Bugman yet. And I wish they would embrace the Donkey Kong 3. But you can see that the cabinet is very similar to the Bally Midway version. And, you know, they took visual cues from the Namco cabinet and made it their own. Of course, they started with Galaxian, Galaga, Pac-Man, of course, Miss Pac-Man. All the early Bally games looked like Namco cabinets. So let's go in and play a quick game of Dig Dug, because really I want to get to the two that you haven't played before, or you haven't seen before. Now I've been told, doesn't it look cool? I love the colors. The colors, I love the colors they did. I have to do my research more, but I know that at a certain point they did in fact start emulating games, because as you can see, this is pretty accurate. Now, there's a way to emulate and extrapolate certain things out. For example, you see how the score is to the right. Um, if you go and play like on the Pixel Bash, it looks exactly the same. That's just altering code. You know, you're able to go in and recode all of, you know, that information. So instead of it being on the top and the bottom, they're both on that one side. Um, that way you're getting that aspect ratio that you would get from there. But if you noticed, it scrolled up. Now, scrolling up is different. Scrolling up, I don't think you could really do in an emulation situation. Um, so, you know, there's always little clues that, you know, say, okay, is this real or isn't it real? It was later on. I mean, like when you're playing on the Switch, for example, those are the actual arcade ROMs. Um, Back when they created these, emulation was in its infancy. I mean, literally in its infancy. You just had Digital Eclipse uh, go to Williams and blow their mind with being able to play Defender on a really crude laptop of the early 90s. Um, and there were very few companies. Nowadays, you know, you've got M2, you've got Digital Eclipse is still around, you've got all these other companies, you know, that do this stuff. And back then you didn't. So, but there's always little visual things that indicate, okay, is it real? Is it emulated? That's what I think here is it's emulated. But, you know, they have the sound files, everything else. So it's very, very simple for them to do. Let's play some Dig Dug. I used to love this. I could sit and play this game for hours when I was young. I'd always like do that. Like this was one of my favorite moves. Going, look, really tough playing this with an analog controller. So basically, flap, and then go this way. I kind of messed it up because my timing was off there for a millisecond because I went the wrong way. But we're gonna. There we go. Get the carrot. There we go. There we go. But I used to be able to get like level 20, level 25. I mean, it was insane back in the day. And then, of course, I would, you know, like Dig Dug Arrangement was another one. I could play that for hours. And I loved that because here you had, you know, boss enemies and, you know, just some really cool stuff that they did for that compilation. Up. And I still got the bonus. Look at that. Sweet. Because it didn't fall during the time I got killed. So it literally counted as the second rock. Which is always cool. Look at that. Got rid of that Figar. And of course you gotta be careful with Figars because of course they're flame. Just really cool. I love this stuff. I mean, who doesn't love a classic arcade game? I mean, it's crazy to think now, but this was it, man. When I was young, this is what we played, you know? But you could get really good at this game. You got creative, you could do it. Yes! Oh, I'm good. Now I'm getting cocky, and that's when everything falls apart. Of course, that's a gimme. Anybody in their right mind could do that one. And there we go. There we go. I love this stuff. Yeah, we got Dig Dug in '82. Whoops, and of course I get killed. We got Dig Dug in '82 at the Dream Machine, the main arcade, because at that time it was only the main arcade. Wasn't until later, after Park Place closed down, that we got what we called the Annex, which was their old arcade, because it was like, hey, well, there's an arcade, we can put more games in. Why not? This is when things get crazy, right here. Silly, I know. Eggplant. Gotta get the eggplant. Yep. This is when things get a little sticky. Ah, that was it right there. But yeah, you know, this is one of those games that always captivated me, always. And it's a solid game, you know, like Mappy, that I love to see in their compilations, and I'm glad that they embrace, you know, in their compilations today. I love that. Ah, that was it, guys. Right there. That was the end of my Dig Dug run. I actually had this MP3 as my alarm clock for a long time. There we go. Now, gotta wait for the timer to go down because it won't let me out of the game yet. That's the thing I've learned with this, is you have to be in demo mode in order to leave. You can't just exit the game. See? And it does the same thing. It flips vertically. You get the idea. So we don't have to do that. Okay. Well, that's an interesting noise. There we go. So that was the Dig Dug area. And also I had to show this off because I don't know if you can see it that well, but over there is a slideshow that they play on the rock wall. Kind of like what I wanted to happen at Disney Quest when they covered up our beautiful mural. I wanted them to make an interactive version of Fix-It Felix Jr. that would project on the wall, and it got nixed. Womp womp. So that was the Dig Dug area. We're going to pop in over at... We're going to walk through Galaxian, because everybody's played Galaxian. And Galaxian was one of those games, it revolutionized everything. Like, Galaxian, without Galaxian, we wouldn't have a lot of the shooters we have today. It was one of those games that were instrumental in the development of shmups. I mean, it was exactly that. You'll see it's the same board as Pac-Man, right there. And then we got artwork. And it was a very different. See, I love the Galaxian artwork for its time. We had the same bezel, just shaped differently, but I love the Japanese version. I love that this, you know, the subtle shades in color, the green. I love it. That's cool. Okay, and then of course you have the header. Everybody's seen the header. All right, there's the Galaxian pamphlet. Again, I've said it before. These pamphlets they would hand out everywhere, and it would give you a basic idea, rundown, if you were an operator, of how the game actually worked. And it sold a lot of cabinets, that's for sure. And they're highly collectible. I used to have a, well, I still do. They're just buried somewhere. The artwork, of course, the instruction sheet that would go under the glass. I think I mentioned this last week, but the glass would have a hollowed out section that would allow you to put that inside. It would be taped. Well, later on, of course, that tape would either damage the silkscreen paint or it would fall off altogether. And I don't know what this is. Let's find out. Special arcade machine. Oh, this is one of the... Okay, so in Japan, these were popular for a time. They would mount right to the wall. I love that it has a bullhorn on top, a megaphone-like speaker. Isn't that great? Look at that. You have to give them credit. I would buy that. That would be, that's what that's supposed to represent. All right, we're not going to play, but we're going to go in to the room. And again, these rooms, you know, they just did such a fantastic job in... There we go. There's the Galaxian ship, ready to go out. I just love this stuff. I mean, they did such a great job. You know, we don't want to fall off the platform. And of course, in this volume, it looks like they separated, like that some were cocktails, some were uprights. But I love the Namco version. It's more angular, whereas ours does that kind of curve. And they were really big on like kind of color coordinating. You know, ours had green, theirs had light blue. Same artwork, except if you notice the front panel has artwork too. But just look at that. It's beautiful. Oh, it's taking off. Bye. Look at that. Unbelievable what they were able to do in the 32-bit era. And there's another ship. I love it. Alright. We've all played Galaxian, so I'm not going to waste too much time with Galaxian. Galaxian was fascinating to me because of it basically took Space Invaders in a different direction. That's what... Yeah, isn't that cool? I mean, just the attention to detail that they put into this collection is fascinating. Like, just the cinematic stuff that you would not even think twice about. Like, they just did it. A lot of love went into these, and that's what I love when they do that stuff. Okay, so that was the Galaxian area. So we'll look at Pole Position 2. Again, Pole Position 2 is basically, you know, the same game as Pole Position. There's a few, you know, there's different tracks, of course. That's what makes it interesting. Their board set was different than ours, again, because Atari did theirs. There's a flyer. Yeah. Their sit-down cabinets were real nice too. Really nice. It's like a locker room kind of feel to it. You know, I miss this 32-bit era. Like, you know, most games, like you play a Resident Evil or something like that, and you feel like you're actually walking around. I mean, it was the very beginning of, you know, like even VR and things like that, you know. Stuff we take for granted today. And they have a semi-sit-down version here, which looks kind of weird, with a chair in front of it. Not sure what that's all about. Apparently that's a Japanese cabinet. Maybe they made them like that. Maybe that's what their version of an upright is. I don't know. But yeah, that's Pole Position. You know, it does have different courses that were not in the original. The original had one course. This has, I think, 3. staff only. I love that. So yeah, this is the pole position area. And again, the music is awesome. I still like Dig Dug better. I just, that music's so happy and jumpy and bouncy and... Alright. We are in the lobby again. Now, these are the two I want to show you. Tower of Draga we're going to start with. Like I said earlier, this was a few years before Zelda. This would be considered the very first kind of adventure-style game. I mean, there were a few on the computers at that time, but nothing like this. It takes place in a maze, but there's just... It's a great game. You got to know how to play it, though, and there's so many levels in this game. Very cool stuff. They really went all out because they were going for a D&D feel with this game. And if you've never played it, I recommend it highly. There is a Namco version for the Famicom. Never got released here in the States, sadly. Like a lot of their stuff, just didn't get released here in the States, which really bums me out. Of course, this is the flyer you would get. And this is what a typical maze looks like. Now, you're not going to see most of it because you're going to be scrolling, but basically you kill enemies in the maze. You're trying to find the key, which I think you can see down there at the bottom, almost center. There are power-ups. You know, you can walk faster, which is really big in this game because Gil walks very slow, very slow. Now that is a great pop-up right there. I'd love to make that. That looks cool. Like I said, they would put these on top of the cabinets, and this was the way you would advertise your game when it was in the arcade, because you wanted to pull those people in, get that money, you know? Alright. A lot of stuff for this game. This game was a huge hit in Japan, and later on gets a sequel called The Temple of Ishtar, which I believe is on the next disc. Yeah, this was really designed for D&D players. So again, if you have access to being able to play this game, and it's on most of the collections, you definitely try it. Okay. So this is the Will-O-Wisp. This will come after you and basically kill you. So you've got to get out of the room before they appear. That's imperative. If you have it, you can break it. Okay, so if you have your sword, you can break walls, but don't hit an outside wall. All right. The magicians are awful because they disappear and reappear. And significantly, if you notice, it looks like another game called Gauntlet. This came out, I think, a year or two before. I believe this came out in 83 or 80, might have been 84. Now, for like this guy, you can kill him, and you can kill anything with your sword. You have to stick your sword out first before you get to the character. That's why this is not your typical action-based game at all, because the key is to be prepared before the enemy shows up, and you have to hit them with the sword on the same direction that they are. So say, for example, a slime comes down. You got to be in that hallway. You can't hit them from the other hallway because the sword won't connect. All right? But the knight you can destroy, but he takes part of your power too. So... okay. That's good to know. And that was another really nice thing about this is like you get a game like this that you've never played before. Now you see, okay, so you attack the enemies with the sword, block spells with the shield. Okay, you find the key to unlock the door next to the floor. Each floor has a treasure box containing a necessary item to clear the game. Perform a creation command. I do not remember what that is. I think it's just pulling your sword out, if I'm not mistaken. It was released as an action RPG in '84. Okay, so 1 year before Gauntlet. This was huge in Japan. Massive. Wow. Interesting. I did not know that. See, I've never finished this game. This game's hard. In fact, with the disc, I should pull it out. There's actually a map in it with the disc. So that's pretty cool that they gave you a map. And I believe they handed maps out in the arcade as well. Very, very Zelda-like in that respect. And there's the main enemy right there. Hard to believe this one came out in '96, man. Just the attention to detail. Even back then. I mean, look at that guy. He's huge. This was all the bomb back then. Like, this was it. All right, so let's try a game. And it's been a few years since I've played Tower. And I wasn't very good at it to begin with, but it's one of those games you got to learn how to play. It's not an easy game. Okay, so okay, so you move around. You can see you're very, very slow. Okay, the object is to get that key. That's the main imperative because you got a time limit. You always extract your sword before you get to an enemy. That way you can take them out. Okay. And it will not work unless he is on the same hallway as I am. He has to be positioned perfectly. All right? So we're going to come down here. And you only have so much time, and I'm wasting it. Like I said, it's hard. The movement is very slow. You want to get the, what you call it? There are speed up boots. You got to get them, or else this becomes a chore. Now there's a treasure. We're not even going to bother. We're going to go in because we're out of time. But by performing certain acts, i.e. killing the enemy, is when the treasure boxes appear. And every room is different. So it is imperative to find the key and get out. But you have to collect so many of these items in order to finish the game. And that's where their little map and guide would help you, because you'd have to have that in order to... We're going to try to get to the other side of the room here. Let's see if I can get rid of these guys. I think you can only attack him from behind when he's moving away. But you want to try to get the treasure boxes if you can find them. Because again, you can't see the whole maze. You have no idea where anything is. Except maybe the key. Get lucky sometimes and it's right there. Other times not so much. Of course the knight's going to follow me. Didn't see me. And any power-ups you get, of course, are diminished when you lose a life. So like if I get the speed up, I get killed, it's gone. There is no second chances. That's how these games work back then. People don't seem to understand, you know. There was no save state. There was no nothing. Made it just in time. And the music is really good in this game. Surprisingly good. And that's the wizard. And they cheat. And that's what your shield is for, because it's the only way they can... It's like the Wizard of War. Essentially. See how my shield protected me. Whoop. I am not going to make it out of this one. I have to go all the way over here. Oh. I don't think I keep the key. I think the key disappears and I've got to find it again. Yep. Same spot though. That's a plus. Trying to get it though is another story. Very, very difficult game. But I can only imagine, you know, the kids over in Japan probably having their maps out. That's where this is. That's where this is, you know. I'll have to pull it out. As I think this is one of my original discs, is right, is this. Because two of them I had to replace. I do not remember what happened to them, but I lost them. So I got the classic, or whatever it's called. Oh. Very, very hard game. Very hard game. Alright. Last life. See what we can do with it. Got him. What would have been really cool is if they had a button you could hit and you walk faster. That would have been great. That would have made the game at least a hair bit easier. But you can see it's very difficult. Graphically, looks pretty good for 1984. I'm not going to lie. This game would have gotten my attention had it been out in American arcades. It would have been one of my top 10. I'd have played this all the time. Whoop. And that's it. That's Tower of Draga. Highly recommend. I believe you can find the map online, which is really cool too. No continues. It's done when you're done. Okay? Just so you know. I think this was horizontal, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look. Yeah. So yeah, you can increase to 5, which is great. All right, let's exit out of here. Oh. There we go. But again, this series was very popular in Japan. Massive, you know. And of course, you're going into the tower. Isn't that cool? I love it. Love it. Love it. All right. And I think I'm going to continue doing it this way. I don't know if I'm streaming to Twitch right now. I really hope I am. I think I might have worked the bugs out. Who knows? But I seem to at least get somebody over here as opposed to no one on Twitch. Okay, so this is Fozon. Now, Fozon doesn't get a lot of love, and I wish it did. This is a really cool puzzle game. Before puzzle games were a thing. I mean, literally, I think this came out in '85. You know, before Tetris, before the insanity. I don't know that this got an American release, but it should have been on Pixel Bash. I hate Modos. Modos is, they love Modos. And they hate this game. It's like Sky Kid. Nobody likes Sky Kid. Sky Kid's terrible. Look at that. Imagine having that on your machine. I want to make stuff like that for arcade 1-up cabinets. That would be cool. I even had a poster. Okay, let's see. What's over here? Anything exciting on this wall? The board set we don't need to look at. All right, so let's look at how to play so you get an idea of this game. It is not an easy game. So you play as the core, okay? And you have to collect these, what I think they look like atoms. And basically you have to do them in a specific combination that they show you on the side of the screen. So you have to make sure to put them together to end the round in a proper order. And you can release them and catch them again. Came out in '83. The sample formation is what you're going to look at on the side of the screen. It will tell you what you're going to build. All right. And then over here, we have the tips, which we are going to look at because I don't play Fozon a whole lot. Again, this should have been on Pixel Bash. All right. So that's the bad guy. This is very similar in a way to Kicks from Taito. It has a bad guy. The atomic is basically like the Kicks. It bounces around. You have to avoid it. Try to avoid it. Try to collect everything and get out of the room. That's what you need to do. All right. And then when it splits, that's the other thing. It explodes every once in a while. So the particles go everywhere. Very difficult. Once it goes, you've got to get out of the way. All right. In the center of the screen, you're going to see what you have to form as, like what shape that it's expected for you to make. All right. You can also throw these little atoms and defend yourself. So that is Fozon. All right, so we're going to go in. Here we go. Going inside. I love, look at, it's a lab. Look at the people up there. Isn't that cool? I love this stuff. I love the attention that they put and the love that they put into this stuff. And listening through the headphones is incredible. Very cool stuff. All right, so let's go in and play some Fozon. And I'm gonna stink at it, but that's okay. I'm allowed. And there it is. Okay. So I need to make a group of 4 with myself in the middle. There's one. Oh, oh. Wow, jumped right on top of me. I had no defense. Okay. All right, so let's grab that guy. Here we go. Stay out of his way. There we go. Oh. See, you can let them go. All right. Oh. There we go. There we go. I think they should have put this in Pixel Bash. So now I've got to stack up 4 more on top of what I already have. There we go. There we go. That one was a little easier. I think because everything was separated a little bit. So. And then there's a little timer down there at the bottom. Alright. This is where things get dicey. Look at that. Now I have to put them in the middle. And of course, there we go. Got one. Got one. That can go. Got one. There we go. I mean, you would. This is a great game. Hard, really hard. This is not a simple game at all, but fun. There we go. 2 more. There we go. That was it right there. At least I get to keep my first 2 configurations. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, nope, nope. 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 Now I lost that guy. There we go. Nope. Not doing well with this. This game is really good with an analog stick, though, because you can just slide right around. The directional pad, this was hard. I remember that vividly. Problem is, when you get against the wall, it just throws away like the one that's not on a wall, which is usually the one you don't want to get rid of. There we go. There we go. Nope. I'm gonna get you. Nope. Nope. That was it. That was it. Not bad for not playing for many, many years. But that's Fozon. And I think it's really cool because it was like one of the very first puzzle games ever was this game, 84. And Namco really orchestrated a lot of, historic things that we don't know about because a lot of this stuff never got released in the States. So it makes it more interesting to learn about it through having the museum series. Now, the museum series has changed a lot. It's more compilation based now. There's not a lot of information like there used to be. The world's changed. I mean, everybody's about instant gratification now. So, of course, you're not going to get these compilations where they have all the history and whatnot. And you could see it evolving here that, the information is good, but it's not like encompassing like the first 2 were. But that is Fozon. Let's take a look at what the options are in this game. So You can set it for 5. Interesting. Now, you want it on easy. That's another thing, is they had a rank system for their level setting, how hard it was. And they really started with like Mappy. And you had to be very careful because you would think 0 was like the easiest. It's not. So you had to always put it on 1. So of course I'm saving that for the next time. Bonus. I think we'd do that one right there. All right. Screen. Interesting. Let's take a look at that. Mode. Oh, that's right, because this was a vertical. I'm curious to see what that looks like. Look at that. Beautiful game. It really, I mean, I love the table on the play field, and you know, being able to combine everything. It's a really good looking game for 84. You know, different now. I mean, you know, but I think for 84 this game looks really good. Really good. All right. Let's get out of here because the best is yet to come, I'm hoping. Let's find out, shall we? I messed up the last 2 times because I thought the lounge was the good one, was in one of those, but it wasn't until they got to this one where everything changed. And I love this music. So we're going to exit out of here. We're going to go to the lounge, and then we're going to call it a night from there. Because I messed up 20 minutes of talking to myself. All right. So we're going to exit out of here. We've done every room, or museum area. So we don't need to do those anymore. You come down the stairs here. And I believe this is the lobby. Here we go. Let's see if it's the one I thought about. It is the theater. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this. Look at that. Isn't that cool? This is where things got really interesting. They did... I didn't save any games, so of course there's not going to be anything there. See you again. Look at that. All right. Just to think, you know, this group of people. Let's look at the library here for real quick. I don't remember what's in the library. And then we'll go to the cool part. Ooh, wow. Look at this. Wow. Going down the stairs. Here's all the magazines. Remember I showed you the NG magazines? Okay. So that's all them. And then, of course, you come over here and you've got... this is artwork for the Tower of Duraga, I believe. We can look at that real quick. That's what the characters look like. There's Duraga, the big villain. There's your slimes, your knights. I mean, this is 84, guys. It's pretty amazing that they came up with all this stuff, and it's all in the game. All of it. There's your sorcerers. Look at that. All of these characters are in this game. This is the power-ups. You've got shoes, you've got gloves, I'm not sure what they do. You have armor. The helmet, I don't know what that does either. Claw hand. I think that's where you can break walls, if I'm not mistaken. So, let's see what else there is. Ah, here we go. Here's your swords. You got crystal rods. I never got the crystal rods. I've gotten a different sword before. You get pickaxes, potions. I mean, all of this crammed into this game. Fascinating. Fascinating stuff. That they were able to do that. this stuff is so cool. Very cool. Now this one I think is all model work that they did for this game. They actually created models for this game, which I think is really cool. Look at that. That is an actual model that they did. Look at that. Cool. To get a feel for what they were building, you know? This one's fascinating because I believe they did artwork for Gil, and that the yeah, see, so that's him looking out at the model that they built. Now, I don't remember if it was a cell or if they like printed it out, cut it out as a physical object, and then set it down, took the picture. But they loved this game. Loved it. Fascinating stuff. Look at that. The slimes were made out of some material that they had. Backgrounds are real. Gil is a character. You can tell right here he's been cut out. He's a cut out character, probably on cardboard. Very cool. Gil found a key. There's the knights running up to him. And the backgrounds are real. Cool stuff. Look at now, that's cool. The treasure box is real. Look at that. I love this stuff. When they do stuff like that, it's just, you know. This is what it all came in, you know, this was a poster, I think, that they did. So this is what you would either buy or it would be set up near the machine. Look at that. And it's in English, which is really cool. Here I come. Make way, cutting down the slimes. The key. This key, I can go upstairs. Never turn your back on black magic. Found in the treasure box. There's the knights. Cool stuff. You know? Just so cool. Alright. So that was the illustration they did for the game. And I don't remember specifically what it was done for, but that's a Galaxian. Sit down. It's these little touches that make these compilations so cool. Just so cool. You know. But the just knowing that they put all this work into it. You know, knowing that people were going to look at all this. Now this is a new character that they came up with for this, and I believe he's the history guy, goes over the games. Like I showed you in the first volume, you can scroll down. The ones that are highlighted in red are the games that are on the disc. So it's a history of Namco up till that point. So we won't do that. So let's exit the library and go to the main event. We will end our evening there in the theater. So we cross the hallway. Now, yep, okay. So Pick-Pack is something very interesting you're about to see for the very first time. Only in Japan this happened, okay? You ready, guys? This is the one I was waiting for. This is it. Oh, that's a slideshow. That's not what I want. Everybody's sitting, waiting for the show to start. Can't remember where to go. No, not there. I think we go down this way, because this is an. I think this is a staircase to go down, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I can't get down there. Oh man, don't tell me. It's another disc? No. I remember this being... Yeah, because I get down there. I gotta get down there. I don't remember how to do it. Maybe it is the next one you do that in. Yeah, I can't get to the exit there. Yeah, it must be the next one. So, yeah, it's the next one, guys. I'm sorry. So, basically, in the next one, you're going to see a show with this group called Pac-Man, and they're robots. And it was a for real thing, and I may post it on the website to show you that you could literally watch this show in Japan. It was kind of like Chuck E. Cheese or animatronics. It was really cool. But it's not this one, it's the next one. Everybody's just here to watch the show down there. Okay. Whap, whap, whap. Way to go doing research, Ray. All right. So the next time we will do this, you'll be seeing them next week. But that was Namco Museum Volume 3. This one was, like I said, it was the beginning of the change of the museum series. It it started evolving. Every museum from this point on is going to be different from the last one. They're not going to be the same museum every time anymore. We're gonna, the next one, I know there's some hidden things you can find and all of that, and Pick-Pack will be in that one because I'm old, I don't remember. But as you can see, this is Volume 3. It has a lot of great games on it. We're starting to see the Japanese influence with games that didn't come out here in the States, which is really cool, I think. The fact that they incorporated Miss Pac-Man into this volume shows the beginning of the change in that respect as well, that Miss Pac-Man was being embraced as a Namco character. And once the series is over, I may do a night where, like I did in the very beginning, where I compare and contrast all these games, and we'll play both Nintendo versions that were on the NES, and you'll see the difference between the two, and it's quite striking, to say the least. Tengen took Miss Pac-Man, put her on steroids. Namco said, we're not sure what to do with Miss Pac-Man, so here you go. And that's basically what it came down to. So I'm going to end it there. It was a very interesting evening. It seemed to work very well tonight. I didn't have any major problems other than I forgot to go live. I'm going to have to remember all this. In fact, this video will show me that wasn't live for that long. But I appreciate everybody who has been watching. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you for stopping by and sharing your time with me and going over the history of these games. And I will see you next week, Thursday night. I am going to continue doing it on Facebook primarily, and hopefully it's bouncing over to Twitch at this point. Have a great evening, and keep playing like it's 1981. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.